Discipline is not a gentle invitation. It is a command you give yourself when every fiber of your being wants to do the opposite. It means doing the work when the bed feels warm, when the excuses feel reasonable, and when the temptation to wait until tomorrow whispers seductively in your ear. Comfort steals progress in plain sight. This is the law most people never want to face, but it is the law that divides success from mediocrity. If you wait until you feel ready, you may wait for the rest of your life. You've probably told yourself 1,000 times, "I'll start tomorrow." But how many times did tomorrow arrive looking identical to today? That is not fate. It is the habit of surrender. The truth is, motivation is a fragile guest. It visits briefly, brings some excitement, and then disappears the moment conditions become difficult. Discipline is different. It does not depend on moods or inspiration. It is the choice to act regardless of how you feel. Think of it as the ultimate insurance policy against the unreliability of emotion. So let's call things by their real names. Discipline equals doing the hard thing when you least want to. It equals refusing to surrender to the soft pillow, the endless scroll, or the false comfort of saying, "I deserve a break." It equals standing up, putting your shoes on, and doing the work even as your mind screams for escape. This is not cruelty toward yourself. It is respect for your future. Every time you obey laziness, you insult the version of you who could have been stronger, healthier, or more successful. Every time you act, you pay honor to that future self. Now ask yourself plainly, how many chances have you lost because you delayed? How many opportunities slipped through your fingers because you wanted to feel ready first? Imagine the things you could have already built had you chosen action over waiting. That sting in your chest right now, that is proof that the cost of comfort is real. And here's the promise of this journey. If you can learn to force discipline into your life, you can change every corner of it. What follows is not a lecture of theory. It is a training ground for your mind. You will learn how to face laziness head-on, to refuse negotiations with weakness, to act instantly before hesitation grows, to control the thoughts that sabotage you, and to repeat disciplined actions until they become your identity. You will learn how to create pressure instead of waiting for motivation, how to choose effort over relief, how to fight impulses, how to protect your energy, and how to condition your mind to act without waiting for feelings. And as you listen, remember, this is not about punishment. This is about self-respect. It is about drawing a line in the sand and saying, "I will not keep signing contracts with laziness. I will no longer wait for conditions to be perfect. I will act now." That is how discipline begins. That is how lives change. So here is your invitation, or rather, your challenge. While you listen, comment below where you are tuning in from and what time it is. Let this be your first act of discipline, showing up fully. And if you're serious about building this life of action, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next step of training. Discipline grows in community, and this space is here to keep you accountable. From this point forward, we dive straight into the battle against laziness. You will see why refusing to negotiate with it is the very first weapon you must master. Laziness is the master of disguise. It rarely announces itself as doing nothing. More often, it puts on the mask of busyness. It arrives as the scroll through your phone that eats an hour before you even notice. It sneaks in as the snack you didn't need, but convinced yourself you earned. It lurks behind the endless small tasks that make you feel occupied, but move you no closer to the goals that actually matter. Laziness is clever. It convinces you that you're working when in truth you're avoiding. And here is the harsh reality. If you negotiate with laziness even once, it learns to win every single time. You know this pattern. The alarm rings. Your body whispers, "Stay a little longer." Your mind replies, "You deserve a rest." That's the opening bid of laziness. If you bargain, if you say, "Just 5 more minutes," you've signed a contract you didn't mean to. The bed wins. The phone wins. The excuse wins. And worse, your brain learns that you can be persuaded. Tomorrow it will ask again, and you'll be even weaker to resist. The disciplined life begins the moment you refuse to negotiate. It's like standing firm in a courtroom where laziness is the slickest lawyer alive. You must not argue with it. You must not try to reason with it. You simply declare, "Case closed." The verdict is action. You get up. You do the work. You move forward without waiting for a second opinion from your feelings. Think about the people you admire most. They are not inherently stronger, more talented, or luckier than you. Their advantage is that they stopped bargaining. They learned that each excuse was not harmless, but corrosive. They refused to let laziness have a seat at the table. And with each refusal, they grew stronger, while laziness grew weaker. It's tempting to think, missing one workout isn't a big deal, or skipping one page of study won't matter. But these small decisions are the blueprint of your character. Each time you choose comfort over action, you're not just missing one moment. You're practicing weakness. You're rehearsing how to quit. And when life demands focus, your brain will default to that rehearsal. That's why it's so dangerous to make deals with laziness. You think you're just postponing. In truth, you're conditioning yourself to surrender. So how do you fight back? Start with brutal honesty. Recognize the enemy when it shows up disguised as rest or reward. Catch it in the act of whispering, "You'll do it tomorrow." Then cut off the negotiation. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't weigh the options. You simply move. You do the thing immediately. This is not about grand gestures. It's about stacking tiny victories. Each time you refuse, you weaken laziness's grip. And here's something to remember. Laziness never runs out of excuses. It will invent new ones forever. That's why your defense can't be based on debating. It has to be based on refusal. Imagine if you had a friend who lied to you every day. At some point, you stop listening entirely. That is how you must treat the voice of laziness. A liar not worth your time. Take a moment now and scan your own patterns. Where do you often let laziness bargain its way into your schedule? Is it in your mornings when the alarm rings? Is it at night when you know you should stop scrolling but you don't? Is it when you tell yourself you'll start the project after one more snack, one more video, one more day? Identify those openings. Shine a light on them. Because once you see laziness clearly, you can no longer pretend you don't know the deal you're making. From now on, your job is not to win arguments with laziness. Your job is to refuse to sit down at the table. Every time you take action without negotiation, you build proof for yourself. Proof that you are stronger than excuses. Proof that your future is more valuable than a fleeting comfort. And over time, those proofs stack into identity. You are no longer the person who bargains. You are the person who acts. So the next time the bed feels heavy, or the phone feels tempting, or the excuse feels reasonable, remember this. The choice isn't about comfort in that moment. It's about who you are becoming. Each refusal is a brick laid in the foundation of discipline. Each surrender is a brick removed. You decide what kind of house you are building. And once you begin living this way, something shifts. You'll notice that saying no to laziness becomes easier with practice. You'll notice that the very moments you once dreaded, the early morning, the tough workout, the long task, become the exact moments where your strength is forged. That shift is the beginning of transformation. Stand firm. Refuse to negotiate. That is the first weapon of discipline, and it's yours to wield starting now. In the next section, we'll see how immediate action, not tomorrow, not later, but now, creates the reflexes that make discipline unshakable. Hesitation is the silent thief of progress. It sneaks in between the moment you decide and the moment you act, and in those few seconds, excuses are born. You've lived this before. You think of calling a client, opening a book, or starting the workout. Then you pause, just for a moment. And in that pause, your mind rushes in with its favorite lines. You're too tired. You'll have more time later. One day won't matter. And by the time you've debated, the urge has faded, the window has closed, and laziness has claimed another victory. The cure for hesitation is instant action. Discipline is not built on occasional bursts of inspiration. It's built on the repeated decision to act immediately before excuses take root. Think of it like short-circuiting your own brain. When the thought comes, drink water, stand up, write a sentence, you move right then. No discussion, no delay, no bargaining. That single habit is more powerful than any motivational speech because it rewires your reflexes. Imagine a life where every time you thought of something useful, you did it on the spot. You thought of stretching, you stretched. You thought of replying, you replied. You thought of writing, you opened the document and typed. How much momentum would you build? How many tasks would be done before your excuses even had time to form? This is how disciplined people get ahead. They're not waiting for motivation. They're living by trained reflex. There's a simple rule for practicing this. When the thought appears, count down 3, 2, 1, and move. It sounds almost childish, but it is devastatingly effective. Why? Because it interrupts hesitation. It seizes the decision before your brain can load the reasons not to act. The more you practice this, the less you'll need the countdown. Over time, your body will move almost automatically because you've taught yourself that decisions equal actions. Of course, some days even the smallest actions will feel heavy. You'll wake up with no energy. You'll look at your to-do list with dread. You'll feel the pull of delay more strongly than ever. That is when instant action matters most. Because when you act despite the resistance, you send yourself a deeper message. I am not controlled by feelings. I am controlled by decisions. That message, repeated enough, builds a foundation of unshakable self-trust. And self-trust is everything. Each time you delay, you secretly lose respect for yourself. You know you should have moved, but you didn't. That disappointment eats away at your confidence. It grows into frustration, then into doubt. But when you act immediately, even on something small, you feel pride. That pride fuels confidence. That confidence fuels consistency. And consistency, not motivation, is the heartbeat of discipline. You might wonder, but are small actions really that important? The answer is yes, because they are training ground. Picking up a book today trains the same mental muscle that will later help you start a business. Standing up as soon as the alarm rings trains the same discipline that will help you hold strong under pressure. The scale of the action doesn't matter. What matters is the reflex. Small wins stack until they create a pattern that laziness cannot break. Consider how hesitation has shaped your life so far. Think of the opportunities you missed because you paused too long, the friendships you didn't build, the skills you didn't learn, the projects you didn't finish, all because hesitation whispered and you obeyed. Now imagine the opposite timeline, the one where you moved instantly, again and again. That version of you is already stronger, already ahead, already more trusted by their own mind. The only thing standing between those two timelines is the gap between decision and action. So here's a challenge. For the next 24 hours, whenever a useful thought comes, act on it within 3 seconds. Drink the water. Send the email. Start the task. Don't let the thought linger. Even if the action is small, honor it with immediate movement. Do this enough times, and hesitation will lose its power over you. And yes, you will fail sometimes. You'll notice yourself pausing, bargaining, or slipping back into old habits. That's normal. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. Each time you catch yourself hesitating, reset and move. That repetition is how you train your reflex, and soon, acting instantly will feel more natural than waiting. Remember this truth. Hesitation weakens, but action strengthens. Your life will not be defined by what you intended to do, but by what you actually did. And when you learn to act instantly, you create a self who doesn't just dream, but delivers. From this moment on, decide that hesitation has no place in your life. Cut it off before it grows. Build the reflex of action. Because in the next section, we'll explore the inner battlefield, the thoughts themselves, and see how mastering your mind is the key to sustaining every disciplined action you take. The greatest battles of discipline are not fought in the gym, at the desk, or in front of the alarm clock. They are fought inside your own head. Every action begins as a thought, and if you don't take control of your thoughts, they will take control of you. This is why some people give up before they even begin. Their mind whispers, "You can't handle this," and they obey. Others repeat to themselves, "I'll never change," and their actions follow that prophecy. Your inner dialogue is the soil from which your life grows. If it is poisoned with doubt and excuses, don't be surprised when your actions wilt. Most people underestimate how powerful thoughts are. They assume thoughts are harmless until they add up to actions. But the truth is, every decision you make has already been decided in your mind long before your body moves. If your thoughts are negative, your choices will reflect it. If your thoughts are disciplined, your actions will match. That is why thought control is not optional. It is the foundation of a disciplined life. Think of thoughts as visitors knocking at the door of your mind. Some bring value, others bring harm. Most people let every visitor in without question, and soon the house is crowded with negativity. But you have the power to choose. You can welcome the thoughts that serve you and send away the ones that weaken you. That decision, moment by moment, is the essence of mental discipline. How do you build it? First comes awareness. Too many people live on autopilot, never noticing what they are saying to themselves. They let the same excuses repeat daily until they feel normal. "I'm too tired. I don't have time. It's not worth it." Those phrases carve deep grooves in the brain, and the more they repeat, the stronger they become. Awareness breaks the trance. The moment you pause and ask, "What am I thinking right now?" you create distance between yourself and the thought. The second step is replacement. You cannot simply delete a thought. It must be replaced with something stronger. If your mind says, "I can't do this," you replace it with, "I may struggle, but I can learn." If your mind says, "I don't feel like starting," you replace it with, "I will begin now," because action creates momentum. This is not about blind positivity. It is about choosing thoughts that build strength rather than weakness. The third step is environment. Your thoughts don't come from nowhere. They are shaped by what you consume and who you surround yourself with. If you live in a sea of complaints, you will think in complaints. If you drown yourself in distractions, your thoughts will lean toward comfort instead of growth. Protect your environment like you protect your body. Feed your mind with clarity, focus, and direction, and you will naturally think in those patterns. The fourth step is reflection. At the end of each day, examine your thoughts the way an athlete reviews game footage. Ask yourself, did my thinking push me forward today or hold me back? Did I let excuses dictate my actions, or did I shut them down? This daily reflection builds awareness, and awareness builds change. Without it, negative thoughts harden into habits. With it, you can adjust before they take root. And finally, you must challenge irrational thoughts. Your mind will exaggerate, telling you the task is too big, the time is too short, failure is certain. But when you step back, you see that these are not facts. They are fears. The task can be broken into steps. Time can be managed. Success is as possible as failure. Discipline grows when you confront those distortions with truth. You'll notice a pattern. Control of thought always precedes control of action. When your inner voice says, "This is difficult, but I can handle it," your body rises to the challenge. When it says, "This is too much, so I won't try," your body quits before the first step. Same circumstance, two different thoughts, completely different outcomes. So here's a practice. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, pay attention to your first thought. Does it say, 5 more minutes? Or does it say, getting up now makes me stronger? When you face a hard task, does your mind whisper, later? Or do you say, doing it now keeps me disciplined? When you feel tempted to delay, which thought will you choose? That choice will decide the direction of your day. The truth is, your feelings often follow your thoughts. If your thinking is undisciplined, your emotions will be unstable. You'll feel discouraged, anxious, or overwhelmed. Not because of your circumstances, but because of the story your mind is telling you about them. But when you direct your thoughts, your emotions stabilize. You feel capable, strong, and ready because you've chosen to think that way. And here's the freedom most people never discover. Discipline of thought doesn't restrict you. It liberates you. You are no longer a victim of every impulse, every fear, every doubt. You are free to choose which voices get airtime. You are free to silence the critic and amplify the coach. You are free to replace weakness with strength. That is real freedom. From this moment on, treat every thought as a visitor. Don't let all of them in. Choose carefully. When a thought serves your future, invite it. When a thought sabotages you, dismiss it. That practice, repeated daily, will change your actions, and those actions will change your life. As we move forward, remember this. Thought control is not the end of discipline. It is the engine that powers it. In the next section, we'll see how repetition, forcing yourself to repeat the right actions again and again, rewires the brain until discipline is no longer something you do, but something you are. Repetition is the architect of identity. Whatever you do over and over again, whether strong or weak, becomes who you are. That is why people who procrastinate once tend to procrastinate again. It's why excuses multiply after the first one is accepted. And it's why disciplined people seem unshakable. They have repeated discipline so many times that it is no longer something they force. It is simply who they are. The brain does not care whether the pattern you give it is useful or destructive. It adapts either way. If you feed it excuses, excuses become automatic. If you feed it strength, strength becomes automatic. This is both a warning and an opportunity. A warning, because every undisciplined choice you repeat digs a groove that is harder to climb out of later. An opportunity, because every disciplined choice you repeat carves a groove that makes the next one easier. Think back to something that once felt impossible. Walking as a toddler, reading your first sentences, driving for the first time. At the start, each felt clumsy, overwhelming, even terrifying. But after enough repetition, what once felt foreign became familiar. The same principle governs every act of discipline. At first, waking up early feels like torture. Exercising daily feels like a mountain. Speaking up in meetings feels like humiliation. But repeat it, and your brain surrenders. What was unusual becomes normal. What was forced becomes natural. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they quit before their brain has time to adjust. They try a new behavior for a few days, feel the discomfort, and conclude, "This isn't me." But of course it isn't you. Yet. The first repetitions always feel unnatural. That's the point. You are literally rewriting the brain's code. If you stop too soon, the old code wins. If you persist, the new code takes over. So here is the test of discipline. Can you survive the middle stage? The stage where results aren't visible, where effort feels repetitive, where boredom sets in. This is the crucible where habits either die or are born. If you push through the boredom, you etch grooves so deep into your brain that discipline becomes effortless. But if you give up, you erase the progress and make starting again even harder. Consistency beats intensity. A single massive effort, no matter how impressive, does not rewire anything. But a small act repeated daily builds pathways the brain cannot ignore. Reading 2 pages every night is more powerful than reading 100 pages once a month. Doing 10 push-ups daily is more effective than one exhausting workout followed by weeks of inactivity. Discipline is a rhythm, not a random explosion. One way to make repetition easier is to attach new behaviors to ones you already do. This is called habit stacking. If you want to build gratitude, write down 3 things you're thankful for right after brushing your teeth. If you want to exercise, do squats while the coffee brews. By linking the new to the old, you give the brain a natural trigger. Soon, the repetition feels less like effort and more like flow. But repetition can feel dull, and boredom is its own enemy. People crave novelty, but novelty does not build discipline. Repetition does. You must learn to embrace the plain days, the ones that feel uneventful, because those are the days that change you most. When you can do the right thing without the excitement of change or the rush of novelty, you prove to yourself that you are serious. And seriousness is the difference between dabblers and the disciplined. There's another hidden gift of repetition: proof. Every time you repeat a disciplined action, you give yourself evidence. 1 push-up proves you can move. 1 page proves you can write. 1 day of sticking to your schedule proves you can manage your time. Stack enough proofs, and your belief grows stronger than your doubt. Eventually, the belief becomes identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and you start saying, "I am disciplined." That identity shift is the goal. At first, you carry the habit. Later, the habit carries you. When you repeat long enough, action becomes reflex, reflex becomes routine, and routine becomes character. That is why persistence matters more than motivation. Motivation fades, repetition builds. So here's a challenge. Choose one small behavior you want to own. Writing a paragraph, walking 5 minutes, drinking more water, and commit to it for 30 days straight. No breaks, no excuses. Force it through the discomfort and the boredom. By day 30, your brain will start to accept it as normal. By day 60, it will feel harder not to do it than to do it. That is the true power of repetition. This is how you shift from effort into identity. At first, you must drag yourself. Later, you feel pulled by who you've become. That transformation belongs to anyone who is patient enough to repeat until the brain gives in. From this moment forward, stop looking for shortcuts. Repetition is the shortcut. It may feel slow, but it is the fastest path to change. Because once discipline belongs to your identity, you no longer need to fight yourself every day. You simply live it. Now that we've seen how repetition rewires identity, we need to examine the words you speak inside your own mind. Because even with repetition, if your self-talk is weak, your discipline will crumble. Next, we'll explore how to replace negative inner chatter with strict self-direction that commands respect. Your inner voice is the most powerful coach or the most dangerous saboteur you will ever meet. Every day, you talk to yourself thousands of times, often without noticing. Those words shape your actions more than outside criticism ever could. If that voice is full of excuses, "I'm too tired, I'll fail anyway, tomorrow will be better," your actions will follow the script of weakness. But if that voice issues commands, "Stand up now, write 1 page, finish before stopping," your actions will rise to that standard. The difference is not in talent, but in self-direction. Negative self-talk often hides under the disguise of kindness. It whispers, "You've earned a break," when you haven't. It tells you, "One day off won't matter," when it absolutely does. It soothes you with, "Take it easy today. Tomorrow you'll have more energy," when tomorrow looks exactly like today. The tragedy is that people believe this soft language is care, when in reality it is betrayal. Each time you agree with it, you weaken your discipline and build a habit of surrender. Strict self-direction is the antidote. You must speak to yourself the way a leader speaks to a team under pressure. Clear, firm, precise. No room for ambiguity, no vague encouragement. A disciplined voice inside you says, "Do 10 push-ups now," not "maybe you should exercise." It says, "Open the book and read 2 pages," not "you should probably study more." Precision eliminates escape routes. Vagueness is the playground of excuses. This is not cruelty, it's honesty. Negative self-talk exaggerates your limits and hides your strengths. Strict self-direction tells the truth. You may not feel ready, but you are capable of action. You may not see results yet, but repetition will bring them. You may not be comfortable, but you are strong enough to continue. Those words may sting, but they build trust. And trust in yourself is the foundation of discipline. At first, your negative voice will resist. It will remind you of past failures. It will argue, presenting every excuse it has collected over the years. But repetition works here too. Every time you replace the excuse with a command, you weaken the old voice and strengthen the new one. Eventually, your inner dialogue shifts. You no longer hear, "I can't," but "do it now." You no longer debate with yourself. You direct yourself. A practical exercise can accelerate this change. Write down the top 5 excuses you tell yourself most often. Then, next to each, write the strict command that should replace it. For example, "I'm too tired" becomes "Start for 5 minutes, regardless of energy." "I'll never succeed" becomes "Practice daily until I improve." "I don't feel like it" becomes "Stand up and move now." Keep this list visible. Each time the old excuse surfaces, you already have the replacement command ready. Over time, your brain will default to the new command, because that's what you've trained it to do. And remember, tone matters. If you treat your own words lightly, your actions will follow lightly. If you speak with seriousness, your body obeys. You cannot whisper yourself into discipline. You must command it. That's why military training works. Orders, not suggestions. You need to become both the soldier and the commander in your own life. Your environment also influences your inner voice. Spend time with complainers, and you'll notice their phrases slipping into your self-talk. Surround yourself with people who speak with clarity and determination, and your inner dialogue will rise to match. Be ruthless about the voices you allow near you, because they will echo inside you long after the conversation ends. Here's the key truth. Self-discipline is not just about what you do, but about what you say to yourself before you do it. If your words are weak, your actions will be weak. If your words are strong, your actions will follow with strength. That's why every disciplined person you admire has built this skill. They silenced negativity not by accident, but by deliberate replacement, day after day, until the voice of strict self-direction became automatic. From today on, refuse to let negative talk run your mind. Replace every weakness with a command. Speak to yourself as a leader, not a victim. Direct yourself firmly toward action. This practice, repeated, will give you an inner voice you can trust completely. A voice that does not make excuses, does not lower standards, does not delay. It only drives you forward. And once you trust that voice, your discipline becomes unstoppable, because you will no longer wait for external motivation or gentle encouragement. Your own words will be enough. With your inner dialogue transformed, the next challenge is external. Comfort will always whisper to you, promising safety and ease. To defeat it, you must build systems of pressure, deadlines, accountability, responsibility that leave no room for escape. That is where we are heading next. How to use pressure as your greatest ally in the fight for discipline. Mental toughness is not a gift you inherit. It is the muscle you build every time you choose effort over relief. Life constantly puts you at a fork in the road. One path toward temporary comfort, the other toward long-term growth. Relief whispers, "Stop early. Take it easy. You've done enough." Effort answers, "Stay with it. Push one more step. Finish what you started." Every time you choose relief, you rehearse weakness. Every time you choose effort, you train resilience. Over weeks, months, and years, those choices form your identity. You either become the person who quits early or the one who thrives under pressure. Relief feels innocent in the moment. It tells you that scrolling your phone for 5 minutes won't hurt, that skipping a workout just once won't matter, that leaving a project half done is no big deal. But relief is never satisfied with one victory. It multiplies. 5 minutes becomes 30. One skipped workout becomes 3 weeks. One unfinished project becomes a pattern of quitting. Relief steals your strength in small, unnoticed withdrawals until your account of discipline is empty. Effort, on the other hand, compounds. Each time you finish the workout, Each time you stay focused for the extra hour, each time you complete the task instead of postponing it, you add deposits to your account of self-respect. And self-respect is priceless. When you know you can trust yourself to finish, you carry yourself differently. Confidence replaces doubt. Pride replaces frustration. Strength replaces fragility. To build mental toughness, start with small rules you do not break. Decide that if you begin a task, you will not stop halfway. Decide that you will not go to bed until you've completed your daily target. Decide that when the alarm rings, you get up immediately. These rules are not negotiable. They are anchors. They remind you of the standard you live by when relief tempts you to drift. And here's something most people forget. Effort feels hardest at the beginning. The first 5 minutes of a workout are heavier than the last. The first page of writing feels harder than the 10th. The first step into cold water is more shocking than the swim itself. Most people surrender in those first few minutes. The tough push through, knowing that once the body and mind adjust, the discomfort fades. If you can get past the opening resistance, you unlock strength you didn't know you had. But toughness is not just about pushing harder. It is also about reframing effort. Too many people see effort as punishment, something you endure because you're weak. The disciplined see effort as training, the only path to strength. Every hard moment is a workout for your mind. Every uncomfortable choice is a test that makes you stronger. Relief produces nothing. Effort produces everything. So here's a shift. Stop asking, how can I make this easier? And start asking, how can I grow stronger through this? The first question leads to shortcuts, excuses, and avoidance. The second leads to growth, resilience, and mastery. When you adopt the second mindset, you stop resenting effort and start respecting it. Of course, impulses will always try to pull you off track. The sudden urge to quit, the craving for distraction, the temptation of instant gratification, all of them fight for your attention. The disciplined response is to pause and project yourself into the future. Ask, if I give in to this impulse, how will I feel tomorrow? The answer is always regret. Then ask, if I resist, how will I feel tomorrow? The answer is always pride. The pain of effort is temporary. The pain of regret lasts. Choose the pain that serves you, not the one that destroys you. Another key to toughness is directing your energy toward what truly matters. You only have so much fuel each day. If you spend it on gossip, scrolling, or endless trivial tasks, you'll have nothing left for the work that shapes your future. Toughness requires ruthless focus. Protect your best hours for your highest priorities. Say no to what doesn't matter, even if it disappoints others. Every no to distraction is a yes to your growth. And finally, toughness grows when you condition your mind to act without waiting for motivation. Motivation is a visitor that comes and goes. If you rely on it, your discipline will always be unstable. The solution is to create non-negotiable habits, routines that happen regardless of mood. Wake up at the same time. Do the work at the same time. End the day with the same ritual. These structures turn action into reflex. You no longer ask, do I feel like it? You simply do it, because it's who you are. Let's bring it all together. Discipline begins when you stop negotiating with laziness. It grows when you act instantly instead of hesitating. It strengthens when you master your thoughts and replace excuses with commands. It becomes identity through repetition. It thrives on pressure that defeats comfort. And it transforms into toughness when you choose effort over relief, fight impulses with long-term vision, Direct your energy toward what matters and condition yourself to act without motivation. From today on, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop listening to the whispers of comfort. Stop surrendering to impulses. Pick one non-negotiable action. Set a short deadline. Count down from 3 and move now. Repeat it daily until it feels stranger not to do it than to do it. That is the path to freedom. That is the path to identity. You don't wait for motivation. You are the kind of person who acts. And once you become that person, there is no limit to what you can build. Discipline is not about punishing yourself. It is about respecting yourself. It is the daily decision to act in service of your future, even when the present feels heavy. It is not glamorous. It does not always feel good. But it is the difference between the life you want and the life you settle for. Think back across the principles we've traveled. First, you stopped negotiating with laziness. No more deals with the voice that keeps you weak. Then you trained instant action, cutting hesitation before it grew. You learned that every choice begins in the mind. So you mastered your thoughts, replacing weakness with strength. You repeated disciplined actions until they rewired your identity. You replaced soft excuses with strict self-direction. You built pressure into your environment, so comfort could no longer seduce you. And you chose effort over relief again and again, until toughness became your natural response. These are not abstract theories. They are practical weapons. Each one is simple to use, but only if you actually use it. And here lies the secret. Discipline is not one dramatic act. It is 1,000 small acts, stacked on top of each other until they become who you are. From this day forward, stop waiting for motivation. Stop hoping for the perfect time. Stop bargaining with weakness. Start building non-negotiables. Start stacking small wins. Start living by the commands you give yourself. The person you admire, the life you dream of, is built by these choices. So here is your final call to action. Today, pick one non-negotiable habit. Maybe it's writing a paragraph. Maybe it's exercising for 10 minutes. Maybe it's waking up on time. Commit to it fully. Set a short deadline. Use the 3-2-1 method and start now. Do it again tomorrow and the day after. Repeat until it feels stranger not to do it than to do it. That is how discipline transforms from effort into identity. This is the good news. Anyone can become disciplined. It is not reserved for the strong, the lucky, or the talented. It belongs to anyone willing to act when it's hard, to refuse when comfort calls, and to repeat until the brain has no choice but to surrender. That means it belongs to you. You don't need to wait for inspiration. You don't need to wait for a better day. You don't need to wait for permission. You already have what you need, the ability to decide and to act. Use it now, because discipline is not something you do once. It is the person you become. And when you become the kind of person who acts, no matter how you feel, no matter what comfort offers, you become unstoppable. Remember this line as you leave. You don't wait for motivation. You are the kind of person who acts. That is discipline. That is freedom. That is your new life.